Kia ora and welcome back everybody, here with what will hopefully be the third and final reaction to the 1998 NZSAS selection course. So let's jump back in.
When you're given another checkpoint and you're sort of thinking, where's it going to end? At one hand, you're giving it everything you've got, but you're also, on the other hand, realising you've got to hold something back because you don't know how far it's going to go.
For Carl Madiford, the end has already come. A damaged knee has finished him.
It's tough. It's in just about every way you can imagine, physically and mentally.
It's not until the end of the day before you go to bed and you have a look around the barrack rooms that you notice there's a lot of empty beds, and one of them happens to be one of your mates that you come on with.
It's a very true point. I had a few friends, like I've mentioned in I think other reactions or other videos, and it was always, it was sad. You go back to the barracks, at least for me personally. Don't get me wrong, there's other videos and that, and I did draw strength from when people would pull off, but it always hit different when it was somebody that you knew or somebody that you come through basic training and core training with and ended up at the same battalion, at least in my case. For me, you want your mates, you want to get through it with your mates, but it wasn't to be in a number of those cases. And so you do see the empty beds and you do take a moment to reflect. Now, some people might take that and be disheartened by it, or you can choose to take a positive of that and go, man, you know, hey, at least they came here, at least they got to the start line, at least they applied, got to the start line, they tried. Full credit, massive respect to them. Those people that I didn't know though, but I knew and I could see the beds becoming more and more empty, man, it just gave me a boost. I took that as a positive and just thought, awesome, I'm still here.
Andrew Petty's only just hanging on himself. Way behind time after 2 days slog, he's mentally and physically exhausted. But the welcome at today's checkpoint is less than sympathetic.
Oh, no, I haven't stuff. Some water, took a shirt and you look like shit. Stuff.
With rain setting in and no hope of catching up, Andrew Petty's dream of following his father's footsteps into the SAS is about to fade, at least for the meantime.
Yeah, can be fairly ruthless at the checkpoints. Tuck your shirt and you look like SHIT. Very short, no like deadpan, no smiling, no nothing. And very direct in terms of what they ask you and what they want from you and what they provide to you in terms of information for your next checkpoint, etc. So hopefully he went back up again, and yeah, full credit to him, man. Getting on the start line, staying there and just staying in the fight. When you're behind time and you're trying to make it up, it's hard. So, but you keep trying. You'll either quit before you get removed, or you'll just keep pushing along until you get removed. Or you'll make up the time.
There was never a moment that I actually thought about quitting itself. I knew that I had a lot of time to make up, and there was a possibility I wasn't going to make that time up, but regardless I was going to push through until I was actually removed from the course anyway.
If it wasn't as hard as we made it, then we run the risk of ending up with a raw product that is not as good as we require it to be. Now, in many respects, that's going to necessitate identifying the breaking point for some people.
Day 5, and the most grueling test of all, the Von Temsky.
Pretty sure that's Dale Fry right at the front. That big, ugly, grey thermal mat. That's how they came issued. I had one, but I'm glad that I managed to get some materials and give my one a bit of a camouflage cover. The ones I believe they get now get issued already camouflage, so that's great. But yeah, they were just these additional big grey marker panels as far as I was concerned. And when I got issued my one in the army.
It takes an iron will to survive it. 5 soldiers in full battle kit humping 6 50-kilogram jerry cans filled with water across 30 kilometres of sand dunes. After 9 hours, it's metre by metre agony. And there's another catch. If any of the jerry cans are dropped, the whole squad pays. On just one leg of the Von Tempsky, each man in this squad has done 600 press-ups. There's a 30-minute drink break, just enough time for survival.
I don't know if we did 600 push-ups, but I know we had a couple to do. And I had actually forgotten until I'd watched this video again. So this isn't necessarily a reaction right now because I've already posted up the video. Once I've managed to sort of try to get it sussed from the VHS, and there's bits that are missing from it which I can't see on the videotape, so it's a lot shorter than what it was. But I'd forgotten about the fact that we had to do push-ups with our pack on. I remember getting caught on the close country phase, which happens after this, and you go into the close country navigation phase, or at least on my selection after the dunes, and that was about 2 to 3 days before you do the 60 clicker at the end. And I remember getting caught a few times in close country bush. I'm pretty sure Jamie Pinnell might have been one of the guys that caught me at least once with other guys in his group as they were the directing staff at that time, going around hunting us down and looking for us. And then pretty sure I heard them cracking up when they'd catch us, then gave us a few push-ups, asked us a few questions, and then they'd take us back a few kilometres in the vehicle. So around 2 to 3 kilometres we'd get driven back. I know I got taken back at least, because I got caught a couple of times, and I got driven back at least a couple of, or at least more than a couple of kilometres. But nothing, ridiculous. I didn't drive off 4, 5, 10 kilometres away. It's just, hey, this is the kaupapa. You get caught, you're going to get taken back a few kilometres, and then you got to try to make up that ground again. But I'd forgotten all about doing the push-ups in the dunes. That was terrible. Just watching it again, not terrible now, watching it and smiling, I'm just more grateful that I'm not doing that again.
Like John Bolton, to put fresh bandages on the blisters.
Hurry up!
John Bolton's hanging on. But what he and the rest don't realise is they've still got 8 hours of this to go.
No, we realised, we knew that we had at least 20 to 24 hours. We knew that that was the kōrero before getting on selection, or at least I did anyway. And so I assume the other soldiers that were there, because they were all senior to me by that stage, especially the group that I was in, I assume they all knew that the dunes went for 20 to 24 hours. So, yeah, it's not a case of we didn't know. We definitely knew.
This is where the mind takes over. To keep going, no matter how strong you are,
Keep it off the sand.
you've got to really want it. During the night, 2 more soldiers pull out. Their hands tell the story.
They're out there for a long time by themselves, having a real think about things, and
I'm pretty sure that's the brother Rickard, Billy, that I spoke about from Gizzy. It was nice. I got a comment from him in one of the videos recently. So shout out, brother. Awesome to hear from you. Thank you for the message. Awesome to just, hear from one of the bros that we managed to get through selection and go on to cycle together with. Awesome fella. But I'm pretty sure that's him. Looks like him anyway. The other part, where there was at least a couple that removed or chose to remove from themselves from the course. You can see the image of the blisters and stuff there. Yeah, everybody, as far as I knew, including me, we all had blisters. We had blisters on our hands, blisters on our feet, chafing in and around our neck and on our shoulders and on our back and in and around the groin area. Or at least I did anyway. And it was just, it was miserable. It was a miserable time. But if you want to be there, these are some of the moments that you show whether you want to be there or not. I'm pretty sure one of the guys from my group that withdrew from the dunes, I won't mention his name, but I'm sure he went back up and later, I don't know how much time later, but went back up again, did it again and passed and got badged from what I heard. So that's awesome to hear. H, I'll just mention H as the surname is the person that I'm talking about, and he'll know who he is. And yeah, so we'll jump back into this.
really, I think, start assessing their priorities, and some of them just while they're here, decide, well, no, this is too big a commitment.
Okay, Fry, you go.
Stop.
Day 7, the final day, the longest day. John Bolt.
I'm just going to cut in there. I put it in the comments in the other one, like the full without me talking over it. It wasn't a 7-day selection. It's missed the 2 to 3 days close country. So the way I remember it, and it could be wrong, first day or the PT stuff or the military standard stuff that you need to pass, the 2.4 or your RFL, the pack stuff, the swim test, the hares and hounds, the other bits and pieces that you get put through during the day. Then 3 days open country navigation, then the dunes, which goes for about 20 to 24 hours, so that sort of merges into. Then you got 3 days close country navigation, and then day 9, which sort of merges into day 10 with the duration of the 60 clicker at the end. So that's where I get the 9 to 10 days from, and pre-selection was about 5 to 6 days prior to that, but the pre-selection was easy stuff. So it's not 7 days, but I can just hear it now. It comes in and go, yeah, whatever.
He's gaunt and exhausted. He's not alone. Others have lost more than 13 kilos in the past week. But each man still has to march 60 kilometres in full battle dress. By now, legs are starting to fail. Only willpower keeps them going. 25 soldiers have fallen, but John Bolton is still standing.
No problems with blisters or anything?
A couple on my feet, but you just got to ignore them.
Yeah. What have you done with them? You just cut them off, or?
Punctured them and taped over them with second skin.
I suppose it's third time lucky for you, eh?
Yeah, I hope so. Well, I know I'll finish it. It's just whether they want me for further training.
God, you'd be a bit upset if they didn't, wouldn't you?
Yeah, oh well.
They've finished the course, but that's no good.
Sorry, just going to go back. There's about 12 people there, and so I was almost, well, I think I was right. I think in some of the other reactions I remembered, or saying that I remembered, that there's about 12 people, although the part 2 I was pretty rubbish at trying to remember the 12 names. I think I got as far as 10, and I forgot Bolton's, which would have given me 11, and then there's one other. So if you do a quick count on that screen, there's 12 people there. It was just awesome to be amongst that group of men, having gone through what we had gone through, and to know that I was, for me personally, to know that I was still there with these guys, some very experienced and very experienced soldiers. It just, I was rapt, man, to be in their presence, to be in that group. But we knew that it still wasn't over. We knew that you can pass selection, and then you still may not be selected to go on to further training. So now we're waiting. I remember we went into a room for a little bit. We were outside, then we went into a room, and we waited, and then we sort of got called up one by one to go in to see the CO. And you'll see, if you haven't already, a couple of one in particular, golden reaction from Mr. Pohatu, and I'll speak a bit about him when we get to that stage.
There's no guarantee that they'll be accepted.
What's your recommendation, Rachel?
I recommended with reservations.
This is the team that will determine their fate.
Yeah, there were 3.
The psychologists and the SAS panel who pore over personal files years in the making.
He'll keep the team together. Yes, he will.
He's got good people skills.
And the other thing with him is that if the corporal stumbles, he'll be right in there behind him to pick him up.
Clearly they're not talking about me. And I don't know who they would have been talking about.
I've actually got quite strong reservations about him, to do with his temperamental suitability. His intellect's actually okay.
Okay, next.
Maybe that was me they were talking about. That second one.
Afternoon, Sue.
Hello, Corbin. Feet all right?
Sue.
Good.
13
How you
men,
found it?
13 decisions,
Everything what I
and now the moment of truth.
Well, the news is good. I'm prepared to accept you for further training in the unit. Private...
Sorry. Before we go on to Pohatu's one, got a smile that could light up a room, this one. But Higgy, man, I remember, I forgot about this, mentioning this, but I remember now, and just seeing him march in, yeah, we'd all lost weight, but he looked good to go. Like his feet, like walking around, I was hobbling, like my feet blowing up. I wasn't as smart with regards to how I did the 60 clicker, and so I've, in hindsight, reflected on what I would do differently, which I reckon would have put me in better shape and my feet would have been a lot better and not so blown up like balloons. But yeah, Higgy was awesome. And I think I heard them say corporal, so I was wrong. I thought he was a sergeant along with Mids and along with Bolton. Now I'm not even sure if Mids was a sergeant then. I'm sure he was, and I actually thought Higgy was too, but I was wrong about that. Let's get into Pohatu's one.
We're happy with what we've seen on the selection course, and I'm pleased to tell you that we will accept you for further training with the unit. All right? So you can smile.
I'm pausing it there intentionally. Sorry, Pope. But, brother, I remember when I saw this on the video all those years ago, not long after our selection. Put a big smile on my face too, and clearly made an impression on the CEO, who could see that you wanted to smile. I think we all wanted to smile. Higgy was pretty good, man. He didn't give anything away, so not surprised the CEO didn't say to him, yes, you can smile. But I'm so stoked when I saw this and I saw the smile on Pohatu's face, because I didn't know that. We were waiting out in the room. But this fella is the reason why I started my increasing the weight in my pack. He's also the reason why I started doing more step-ups, or why I started doing step-ups. Because Poe, and I've mentioned this in other videos, it's not uncommon for people to fail their first selection. It's just not. He was honest about it. He come back, he failed his first one. I managed to, and he's the reason why I started doing all of that, because I was lucky enough to have a brief conversation with him, and he said mentally I was all good, but physically, like my legs, I remember him saying to me his legs just weren't strong enough. They weren't strong enough to carry him through what he needed to get through at that time. Mentally he felt good, but his legs, he couldn't, I guess at that time, couldn't connect the mind to the body and the legs to be able to go. So he come back, man, trained like a machine, and he was, yeah, you see the result. So thank you, Mr. Pohatu. He's the reason why I really ramped up my training, and I think if I wasn't blessed to have that conversation with him, it may have been a very different story for me on my first attempt, although I had every intention of going back. But having that insight, having that information from him really helped shape what I felt I needed to focus on for my training and preparation before going on selection. So yeah, thank you, Poe. Legend, brother.
Now it's John Bolton's turn.
Hello, Sergeant Bolton. How are you feeling?
Pretty tight, sir.
Are you? You finished pretty strongly. Sergeant Bolton, I don't have good news for you. All right? I have no other way of, I'm not going to attempt to disguise that. I'm not going to accept you for further training. When you go back to your unit, you remain very proud of the fact that you've got this far. There are not many people at 33 years of age who will have succeeded as well as you have.
So a fair decision, you think, given that what he's told you?
Yep. The decision's made. So, yeah, fair decision.
Where do you go from here?
Back to infantry and just carry on with my career. I've only got 5 years left, so carry on doing that and finish up, look for a job somewhere else.
But a major disappointment.
Yeah, very much.
How difficult is it for you to tell somebody that you've done the hard yards, but you're still not accepted?
I'm going to pause that there. I'm so glad those that have seen the video where I'm not talking over it and have seen John Bolton's mana and his integrity and his grace, his ability to just take that. We were gutted for him. I know I was also when he come out, and so when we come to the room, there was you'd see a couple of guys sort of shake their head, and so we knew they didn't get accepted. I know when he come out and his head shook, I was like, there's no way I'm getting selected. Like, this little blinking punk 20-year-old, you're not getting selected for the cycle. You're going to go away. You're going to have to come back and do it again, which I was prepared to do. I would have been gutted 100%, but I would have gone back and done it again because that's where I wanted to be. But just to see how Bolton handled all of that, and there's a bit more to this as well, which you'll know if you've been watching the video. But when I saw this part, equally the same way I was stoked when I saw Poe, I was just, because I never knew Sergeant Bolton, or Boltron, they would call him in battalion. I would never dare call him that, being a little bloody punk private. But he had a reputation for just being a very staunch professional soldier within the battalion, and that's gone on. And that's stayed with him. It's well known within the unit. But man, when I saw this video and I saw that, just my personal respect for and appreciation for Sergeant Bolton just elevated. I was like, far out. Here's this man go through all of this, get to the end, his third time, which I didn't know until rewatching this video, and be told no, and handle it with the dignity, professionalism, and grace in which he clearly did, and it's genuine. It's just powerful, and I can understand and see why he had and has such a strong reputation within the Defence Force and within the unit, because he did go back, and from what I understand, I don't know when, I don't know the details, but he did go on and serve in the New Zealand SAS, and I was so stoked to hear that. I was still in Australia at the time when I heard, so really well deserved and awesome. It was great to hear.
It's not an easy task, but from a professional, dispassionate perspective, it's actually very simple, because my job is about choosing the right individuals for this organisation, and I have to get that right.
Of the 38 men who started the SAS selection course, only 8 will go on to the further 9 months of intensive training they must pass to become SAS troopers.
So 38 started is what I heard there. There was 12 of us that finished, and as you heard, because I knew they didn't take all of us. There was more than just Sergeant Bolton that didn't get accepted, as I touched on earlier, and there was 8 from our cohort. We didn't start our cycle with 8 because the selection that took place earlier that year in 1998, so I did the second selection of 1998 nearing the end of the year. There was a selection that happened earlier in that same year, so those that passed that selection, we combined to form a cycle the following year in 1999. And there may have been a couple of people that were on the cycle before that in 1997 that joined us as well in 1999. So we had a decent number when we went onto our cycle in 1999.
And of those, if past experience is anything to go by, only 4 of the 8 will finally become SAS soldiers.
What do you think of the SAS now?
No change. No change. It's still the place to be.
And that's the part I was talking about, that last piece there. All of it, but especially that last piece. You know, what a loaded question, eh? It feels like, I should say, now that I'm a bit older and looking at it, what do you think of the SAS now? Maybe looking for a bite. But John, true to just the mana that the man has and the integrity and the respect that he has for the unit, like that piece is critical. If he didn't have that respect for the unit that he clearly has, he likely wouldn't have given an answer like that. I've heard a number of people who have failed selection and or who have passed selection but not been selected for the cycle be quite anti the unit for that. And there's a time when I was too, with regards to what happened in my situation and the other video that I've put up, how I almost went to prison instead of the SAS. Like, that young version of me was definitely hurt and upset, and I made the decision that I made. But coming back to John and just hearing that answer, beautiful answer, no change, still the place to be, 100%. So hopefully you've enjoyed this reaction. It's about 24 minutes on there. Glad we got through it in the 3 parts. Apologies. Thank you for those that have been sticking around, persisting with my interjections. I'm trying to spread them out a little bit more and let it play a little bit more before I push pause and then blink and ramble on. But hopefully you get something out of it. For anybody looking and or aspiring to join the unit, that's got to be your decision to make. my personal take is that, like John Bolton's comment, it's the place to be if you're wanting to serve in the military, whether you're in Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada, the UK. For me, that's the place to be. Whether or not you choose to go there, or whether it's the place for you, you need to figure that out. But it is an awesome place where you learn a heck of a lot. And I'm privileged that I've been able to take a lot of those learnings and apply them in my life today. And I can't see myself not continuing to apply the lessons that I've learned. So, with that being said, whatever challenges, struggles, trials, issues that you may be facing or going through, whether it's unemployment, whether it's relationship issues, whether it's just in a rut in terms of not being able to get up and train and exercise, whether you're injured and you can't move as well as what you used to, stay in the fight, keep turning up, try to find an alternative. If your leg is injured, well, you can still do some upper body stuff. If your arm or shoulder's injured, well, you can still do some lower body stuff. If you're injured, upper body, lower body, move the parts that aren't injured. And or slowly and gently, without aggravating them, try to move those parts to get the blood flowing through wherever those injuries are. I share that respectfully. It's helped and worked for me. Sometimes I have to dial it right back, and then other times I have an opportunity to push a little bit harder. But try to find ways to move or do what you need to do. Try to find ways to progress forward, not just from a physical perspective, rather than trying to find the excuses. It's real easy. I've been there. It's real easy to find all the excuses as to why we can't do stuff. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, the kids have got this on and I've got to take them there. Oh, work, I finished late. Or I've got to start early. The list goes on and on and on and on. There's plenty of excuses that we can find and use as to why we can't do something. But there are definitely reasons as to how and why and when and where you can take the time to achieve what it is that you want to achieve, if you want it bad enough. So thank you very much for sticking around once again. Appreciate all your support, messages for and against, etc., the comments. Thank you. I'm learning a heck of a lot, trying to improve thanks to you. Definitely still uncomfortable as well as I go through this journey, but I've got to keep confronting it. I've got to keep turning up. I've got to keep showing up and keep staying in the fight for as long as I can. Better days are ahead. The sun will shine again. Remember, go always a little further, and who dares wins. And until the next video, a big man away from me to you.